What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Today we're going to talk a little bit about fixed blades. And I'm actually going to end this with the two fixed blades that I would take if I had to bail. And I'm doing that because Woodland Tactical asked me to. So I'm making this an open tag video, and I'm actually going to tag Woodland Tactical in the open tag. This video is what two fixed blades would you take if you had to grab two and go? Now, I did this earlier with folding knives, and I got a pretty good response. So I'm curious to see what people have to say in this arena. Now, the two that I will take with me are not actually on the table yet. I wanted to start with some of the other fixed blades that I have and just kind of work my way to where I would land. So, one of the first ones I actually am going to remove from this list is a personal favorite. This is the Wraith by Seven Hills Blade. This is 3V. This is a great knife. I love this thing. But, survival, particularly in the woods, requires a couple of, there are some specific needs. And while this is an exceptionally beautiful and stabby and useful knife, it isn't going to make the cut. Now, don't get me wrong. If I was stuck out there in the wilderness with just this, I could make do just fine. But we're not really talking about that. I'd like to think that if the stuff is going to hit the fan and we're going to grab our go bag and we need to pack a couple of fixed blades, we'll have a little more time to think about it. Maybe we wouldn't, but in this case, we're going to pretend that we do. While I would never willingly not have this near me, I love this knife. For this, it's not going to make the cut. This is my Hossam Design Spyderco Woodlander. This, is a spectacular knife by any stretch of the imagination. This is N690 CO steel. It is a great design. It's got this fabulous choil for choking up. I have used this thing out in the woods and the wilderness a lot, actually, until very recently. It was one of my go-tos, which I'm sure many of you are going to groan because it's a bit of a collector's item, but if I don't use them, I don't have them. This is just a spectacular knife. Now, it's about 10, 12 years old, I guess, before a lot of the sort of commonplace thinking for outdoors and survival knives came into play. And so this has a rounded spine, which makes it a little hard to use, start fires with. It's got some issues. The recurve make it a little harder to maintain the edge out there in the field. I don't care. This is a spectacular knife. One of these days I'll try to find another one of these. They are hard to come by, but if I can find another one, I'll keep it mint just to have it around. But man, I love this, but it's not going to make the cut, which surprises even me because this thing is good in the kitchen and in the field. But we're talking about two knives, right? Okay, so let's do that. This is a well-known knife in the outdoor community. This is the SE6. This is an amazing knife. This is actually my second one. My first one, I just beat the crap out of to the point where I wanted something a little fresh and new, so I replaced it. The knives that I tend to carry the most, if I can, I tend to put my own flavor of scales on them. These are G10, and I tend to like the black and green. That's just me, though. This is a great knife. However, in 1095, this coating, this is great for many things. It's not really ideal for multi-purpose. You can, don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't be the knife that I would choose if I could only take two. I mean, this thing goes with me a lot when I go camping and stuff, but no, we're going to do a little better than this even. So what two then? Well, for a long time, the two was a combination of these three. We'll start with this. This is the Kaiser T2 at S35 VN. Now this is a spectacular small knife, right? It is really good for up-close work, for fine detail work. It is made of a material, that S35 VN, that doesn't rust easily. It holds an edge like crazy. It's great for the kitchen. It's great for small tasks out in the field. This was one of my go-tos for a long time, and then there was sort of an alternating pattern, depending on where I was going. For a long time, it was that knife and likely this, the BK9. This is an excellent chopper. This is essentially a short sword. I mean, let's not play games that it isn't. And because of that, it is marvelous for what it's for. You can baton the crap out of it. You can cut just about anything with it. You can swing it. If you need to in self-defense, it will do a marvelous job at that. I'll tell you what, you come popping out of your tent with this in your hand and people are going to rethink their position in your camp. I added the choil because I like to be able to choke up, and it works really well with that thumb ramp for me, given the size of my hands. But even this isn't one of the two anymore, which is really surprising to me. The other one that I would alternate in and out of is this. This is the K-Bar Johnson Design Potbelly. Now this, as you can see, this has got a fair amount of use on it. This is a great knife. Again, you can baton it. I have wet sanded the coating down so it's smooth. I've put a much steeper edge on it, and it has held that edge through batoning and all sorts of other work. And I love this knife. Oh, a little bit of tape on there. This is a great knife. And between it and the Becker, the BK9, I felt pretty sure that I had my large fixed blade worked out. You know, one of those two would do kind of no matter what. So this then was a very popular combination of what two knives I would take, or maybe it was these two, right? Something for the kitchen, something for smaller around camp, something bigger to do larger tasks with. And then something happened. Well, what happened was Chris Tanner designed a knife called the JX5. And that sort of changed things for me, particularly since a buddy of mine, a couple of buddies actually, got their hands on one, and I had a chance to sort of play with it and see what was going on with it. And that changed everything. By the way, this Kydex is a friend of mine. He's got a Facebook page called Chris the Holster Guy. He does fantastic work. This is absolutely my new large fixed blade that I would take with me in an emergency. This is the perfect large camp knife. It is a chopper. It is a slasher. It is an enormous chunk of 3V. It does take a little more maintenance than something like S35VN, but that's okay. This also is no longer the small fixie that I take with me. No, that's this. This was a gift from my wife on our wedding day. This is a Chris Reeves Nyala in S35VN. This is the perfect small camp and EDC fixed blade as far as I'm concerned. The shape of the blade lends itself, with this hollow grind, lends itself to fine cuts and to narrow and thin work. It is durable. It is perfectly comfortable in hand. It is designed for use. When you mix that with an enormous chopper, like the JX5, it is very hard to go wrong. This is my combination. This is what I will take if I got to grab two and go. It is the JX5 Bark River, the vengeful one, no less, designed by Chris Tanner, and the Nyala, designed by Chris Reeve and the Chris Reeve Company. These are spectacular knives. So, okay, those are my two. What two will you take? What two will serve the largest variety of purposes in the field? What two would you rely on above all others in your collection if you had to just take two of your fixed blades and hit the road? Feel free to share down in the comments. If you have a Facebook page, feel free to, Facebook page. I'm old. If you have a YouTube channel, feel free to make a video about this. It is, again, an open tag. If you have any comments or questions about these knives or any of the knives that were on the table, please feel free to ask down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time on A Therapeutic Edge.